So real quick, guys, I want to do a disclaimer before we get into the heart of the video. You're going to hear some background noise in this video. Not much I can do about that because I'm trying to do this video when the kids are here, and that was a mistake on my part. But I wanted to get something out because I hadn't gotten anything out in a couple days. Again, I will be leaving a link in the description to Mike's video. Because of length of video, I have to cut up Mike's video and just rebuttal the parts I wanted to rebut. But if you're curious about the full length of the video, by all means, go check it out. It will be in the description. So either way, guys, let's get into it. So what's going on, Giants fans? Obviously, welcome to the courtroom. I'm going to be rebuttaling Miketoonice today. I've been saying for a couple weeks there's different videos that I've wanted from his that I want to rebuttal. But now that I basically have confirmation that Mike is a younger Giants fan, I can say without a doubt now he has a lot to learn. And I'm going to go through it in the video. So with no further ado, let's get into it.
Want to spend the first round pick on Josh, or not spend, but trade a first round pick for Josh Rosen. We have the 37th pick overall in the second round, and that is really the highest amongst those three teams because obviously the Chargers and the Patriots had good records last year. They both made the playoffs. Patriots probably have the last pick in the second round because they won the damn Super Bowl. So right now, if you're going off second round picks, we have the highest pick. My concern is, though, what if the Patriots say, you know what, we'll give up our first 32nd overall for Josh Rosen. So then the Patriots beat us because they're at 32 and we're at 37. So then in that case, you might have to go to 17 overall and give them our 17th overall pick. That's something that has been discussed on Twitter. I'm kind of fine with that. I really am. I mean, if you think about where Rosen was taken last year, which was 10th overall, I think he should have been the second quarterback off the board behind Mayfield. He was the fourth one off the board, actually, because of some concerns with his character and arrogance and how he handles the media. But there was no issues last year from what I know, so I really don't know what the big deal is with that. He's a guy who likes to speak his mind, but I just want a guy who can throw the damn ball and be a good quarterback. I don't care about the media all that much. So let's answer
I'm going to rebut Mike on this point. He talked about how teams are worried about Josh Rosen's locker room, him dealing with the media, and how, you know, that really, he doesn't see how that will affect the team. Well, you just got rid of a player that had the same problem. There's no doubt that Odell's talented, but he affected the locker room and players around him and people around him in a negative manner. So if Josh Rosen comes here and does that, it's not the New York media is going to tear him apart. And is he a strong-willed enough person to overcome that? That's what you got to ask. So the fact that you just brushed that off, that's why he was the fourth quarterback off the board. He might have all the arm talent in the world. I've seen plenty of quarterbacks have all arm talent. Jeff George had arm talent. Steve Mitchell had arm talent. Jameis Winston had arm talent. Arm talent don't mean shit, Mike, if you can't put the whole package together. Does he have it between the ears? I don't know. He hasn't proved it yet. You're right. We shouldn't judge him on his first season. But I will judge him on his second season regardless of where he goes because that's the proving ground. We saw it with Eli Manning, October, 25th, 2005, when he came back against the Denver Broncos. I saw right then and there, I knew we had our franchise quarterback. Josh Rosen's got to have that moment. I don't want to give the 17th overall pick to Josh Rosen. I want defenders in the first round, just like you do, that you state in this video. And by using the 17th overall pick, yeah, we still have a chance to get good talent in the second round on defense, and a lot of this draft will be used on defense. But again, I digress. I'm not too crazy about using the 17th overall pick on Josh Rosen. That's just my thoughts. So let's continue on.
The Giants do have two first-rounders, as we all know this year. They really need talent on their defense, and I think I would rather have two first-round picks to spend on talented defenders rather than spend a 6th overall pick on Haskins and then have one pick for a defender. I'd rather have two stud defensive players, even two edge rushers is possible. I mean, we really don't know what they're going to do in the draft. Maybe the Giants go out and take Sweat at 6 overall, and then 17th overall take a Cleveland Farrell or something like that. I don't know what their plan is, obviously, but The thing I got right about their plan, and I speculated this probably a month ago as well, is that I think we're going to take whoever the Cardinals don't take. I think if the Cardinals stuck with Rosen, we were going to go all out to try and trade for Kyler Murray. It seems like Pat Sherman was very fond of Kyler Murray. I'm very fond of Kyler Murray myself. I think he's going to be a superstar in the NFL, and congrats to the Cardinals because they're really going to have what I think is going to be one of the best players in football in the next few years in Kyler Murray. So I know some people doubt him because of the size and all that kind of crap, but I really think he's an electric player. He'll be fine. He'll be a star one day. But Josh Rosen ain't that bad either. So if we can get him for, 50 cents on the dollar, then I'll take it any day of the week and get our 2 stud defenders in the first round. So I think it makes sense from that standpoint.
So people may wonder why I use this clip to rebut. And it's not that I disagree with anything that he says about Kyler Murray, but he has such a strong belief in Kyler, at least that's the way he says it in this video. Where's your belief in Josh Rosen? Now, I know you say he can be a good quarterback, but what's a good quarterback? Is that a top 25 quarterback, Mike? Is that a top 30 quarterback? Do you think he can be an average quarterback? What kind of quarterback? What is your ceiling on Josh Rosen? Because you think the Giants should trade for him, then go in and tell us what you think the ceiling should be. And just simply giving us a blank statement, oh, I think he could be a good quarterback. Well, Eli Manning 4 or 5 years ago was a good quarterback. Now, do you think what he can be, what Eli was 4 or 5 years ago? Okay. But I don't have the same thoughts you do on Josh Rosen, and that worries me, that you're not willing to go out on a limb.
Rosen's owed between $4 and $5 million annually over the next 3 seasons from his rookie deal. He has a 5th-year option as well. And if you cut Eli Manning right now, you save $17 million, as we all know. Then you add Rosen's contract, which is another $4 million. So then you have $13 million in this free agency to spend. And there's still some decent free agents out there. I know there's linebackers like Nick Perry and Zach Brown still out there. The Giants can take a shot on one of them or maybe even 2 of them, but I really don't know what other names are out there right now. I'm sure there's a lot of people. The Giants can get 2 more pretty good free agents and sign them with the money they would save from cutting Eli Manning. The one thing I don't want is us to trade for Rosen and then start Eli every game next year. That would make no sense to me. Rosen pretty much played every game last year besides the first 3, I believe. So to have him play most of last year and then go back to the bench and sit behind Eli wouldn't make much sense to me. I think the Giants need to do the right football thing and cut Eli Manning in that situation rather than do what's good for Eli and what's good for his feelings. Make the smart move as a football team and not worry about the guy's feelings so much. But it's the Giants, and I expect them to keep Eli and start him every game next year. But that's my prediction. But if I was GM, I would not do that. I would cut Eli Manning, go with Josh Rosen, have him learn the system, have him grow more as a quarterback, play on that rookie deal, build a rapport with his receivers, Golden Tate, Sterling Shepard, Saquon Barkley, Evan Engram. Build it with all those guys, and in the next couple of years, maybe you'll be a competitive football team. I think that's the route to go.
Sorry, guys, I'm a little bit under the weather recording this, so sorry if I end up coughing in the video. But going to what he says, he wants to cut Eli Manning if we get Josh Rosen, and I can see why he'd want to do that. Sorry for that background noise. I get why he wants to do that. The problem is I argue against it, and here's why I'm going to argue against it. Because Josh Rosen is largely an immobile quarterback, just like Eli Manning. Let's get a good offensive line in place. Despite what he says in this video, the facts are the Giants still have a terrible offensive line, and I'd say it's not even that much better than the Arizona Cardinals. Yes, the addition of Zeitler is going to help out a little bit, but we still need a right tackle. Obviously, Zach Wheeler is nothing but a backup at this juncture. So, all that being said, we need to build through the draft. We need a core in place. All teams have some sort of core in place. If you look at Indy, they have a core in place. If you look at the Rams, they have a core in place. You need a core in place. We don't even have a core yet, and Mike wants to go out, cut Eli Manning, spend some more money in free agency, and try and make this team a Super Bowl contender. Because the way I take this video, in the back of his mind, he thinks the Giants can contend for a Super Bowl next year, especially if we get Josh Rosen. And I'm going to argue against that because you need a core in place, you need a good offensive line, and Josh Rosen isn't ready to play on this team yet, at least not day one. Maybe, halfway through the season, I could see it. But I don't believe we're going to be cutting Eli Manning. We're going to allow him to have his swan song. And that's fine with me because I don't believe this team's ready to contend. So if you're not ready to contend, why are you trotting out Josh Rosen? Let's continue on.
guy for the Odell trade and for a couple other things and saying, Jonathan Stewart's been in the league for 10 years and he hasn't lost a step. That was stupid. We all can agree on that. The Patrick Omame signing. There's a lot of stupid things this guy's done as GM. But if he can somehow get Saquon Barkley and Josh Rosen on the rookie deals on the same team, I'd applaud that any day of the week. And I would actually take the hashtag #FireGettleman out of my Twitter bio. And I wouldn't, worship the guy for this trade because it's pretty obvious. If you're in a situation and you have a obviously declining Eli Manning, that's another thing. Dave Gettleman talks up Eli Manning so much. It's ridiculous. He's talking like Eli Manning had 35 touchdowns to 8 interceptions last year and threw for 4,800 yards. The guy literally had 22 touchdowns in 2018 NFL starting every game. Not that impressive. And he had some pretty damn good weapons as well. Sterling Shepard, Evan Engram, Odell Beckham, right? And the guy had 22 touchdowns. And the offensive line wasn't good, but it wasn't the worst in the league. It wasn't even like bottom 5 in the league. So they should have done better. But, Dave Gettleman just talks up Eli like he was freaking amazing last year. It makes no sense. I don't know if he's doing it because he's trying to, give Eli confidence, or I don't know what he's trying to do. Obviously, a GM is not going to badmouth his quarterback, but he sounds fully convinced when he's talking about how good Eli was last year. He's like, oh, you got to look at the last 4 games. Okay, yeah, all right, the last 4 games were impressive, I guess. I mean, they got shut out by the Titans at home. I don't forget that. They did have some shootouts with teams, but these things happen. This has happened the end of every season for Eli. The last 5 years it happens. The Giants have these shootout type games at home, and then they end up losing in the last second. That's how every week 17 has gone for the Giants for the last 5 years, it feels like. So I'm used to it by now, but Dave Gettleman kind of has to stop with the whole talking up Eli thing. It's kind of ridiculous, and I hope he doesn't fully believe it because I would have even more concerns for him as a GM. But I'm going to try and stay positive here. If he does trade for Rosen and has Barkley on the same team, really freaking good move. So.
Have you not figured this out about Dave Gettleman? He's going to go behind his guys. Regardless of how he feels about them, he's going to stand up for his guys. That's what Dave Gettleman does. That's why he has these glaring reviews of Eli Manning, despite how you feel about Eli Manning. Even with Eli Manning, and I know you're going to point out the numbers or whatnot, this was an 8-8, 9-7 team, Mike. And because of bad defense, that's why we lost. Now, you could try and sit there and spin it all you want, but you're not going to win anything when you're giving up 412 points in a season. You can't argue that at all. And if you do, I'll rebut you on it every time. What, are you going to point to the Kansas City Chiefs? That's why they're not in the Super Bowl. Couldn't play defense. Pretty simple as that. They couldn't, they lost steam at the end of that game, and that's why they lost. You need to have a consistent pass rush. Giants have none. But either way, you've never liked Dave Gettleman from day one. And big deal. He brought in Jonathan Stewart and Patrick Omame. Why? Because he believes in culture. He believes in the locker room. Yes, these weren't great signings. And Patrick Omame was a starter. But he brought in Jonathan Stewart on not that great of a contract. Yeah, he paid a little bit more to Patrick Omame, but we live in a day in free agency where you're going to have to overpay to get guys. And he brought these guys because they were solid pros and good locker room guys, and he got rid of them just as quickly as they came. So what if he has glaring, talks up some guy? Big deal. It's just words, Mike. But you judge him harshly because you've never liked Gettleman from day one. We argued about Carolina a couple weeks ago via Twitter, where you were like, oh, how can anybody give Dave Gettleman any sort of credit for turning around the Carolina Panthers? Well, they were 6-10 with all the talent that you pointed out to me, and then in the next season they went 12-4, won their division, and then 15-1, won their division. And ever since Dave Gettleman's left, despite still having that talent, what have the Carolina Panthers done? They did nothing last year, and everybody blames Ron Rivera. No, it's their shitty GM that they rehired, which, if they do nothing this season, will be gone again. Despite what you think, I have confidence that Dave Gettleman knows how to build a team, and I've got to give a guy more than a year. And I'll prove that you weren't even willing to give the guy more than a year later in this video. Let's continue on.
I want the guy who's going to have the higher ceiling. As I always say, you play to win Super Bowls, not playoff appearances. If I want playoff appearances, we'll trade for Andy Dalton tomorrow. I'm trying to win the damn Super Bowl. I want a guy who could potentially be the best quarterback in the NFL. That's why I think Kyler Murray's going to be so special. I think he has that shot, and there is a shot that Drew Lock can do that, but I don't see a scenario where Dwayne Haskins is ever going to be the best quarterback in the NFL. I don't even think he could be top 5. I think maybe top 10 if he's in the right situation, right team, right surroundings, but that's a stretch. Drew Lock, he might suck, all right? He might. He has accuracy issues. He has some issues. But Drew Lock, when he's good, he's freaking really good. I think he's more talented than just about anyone aside from Kyler Murray. He is. I mean, when you watch this guy play.
See, again, Mike, and I've said this out. Okay, you like the ceiling for a guy, but you don't take a guy simply on the ceiling. And again, this video is about you trading for Josh Rosen. And obviously, you guys haven't heard yet. He starts, this is a long video for him. And he starts talking about other quarterbacks just in case the Giants don't trade for Josh Rosen. But you don't talk about Josh Rosen with the same glaring endorsements that you give Kyler and or Drew Lock. Which in turn is concerning to me, Mike, because my thought is you want to take a quarterback for the sake of taking a quarterback, and guess what? That's a dangerous precedent because you will set your franchise back far longer than what it is now. And this, you're not an Eli Manning fan. It's very clear, Mike. And even I don't know how you felt about him when he was younger, but you don't like Eli Manning out. What makes you think Eli Manning is going to be such a good teacher? If, we don't go the Josh Rosen route and we get a Drew Lock or a Daniel Jones. What makes you think he's going to be such a good teacher? Why? Because he's had a 15-year career in the NFL, 16-year career in the NFL, and he has all this knowledge to teach this kid. That kid has to be willing to be receptive. Maybe Eli Manning doesn't want that. Maybe Eli Manning knows he's going to be training his replacement. Why would Eli Manning be so receptive to that? That's a good question, and I ask a lot of Giants fans, just beyond you, Mike. Let's continue on.
When I woke up was on Good Morning Football. Thank God I was able to rewind it and watch the whole interview. Some interesting quotes he had. So first was, my wife texted me, are you working on your plan yet? So this guy's wife is basically roasting him because his plan is looking like crap right now. If it's not crap yet, not yet. This offseason's not over for sure. He can make one trade for a quarterback in Arizona for a second-round pick, make it look very good, and draft some very good defenders. This offseason ain't over yet. Another one. The game has evolved, and your safeties need to be legitimate 3-down players. Talk about shots fired, Mr. Landon Collins. His third quote, we're going to fix this, and we're going to be better. Well, Dave, you can't get much worse. That's what I got to say to that. You've had 8 wins in the past 2 seasons, right? Am I doing this right? Yes. Yeah, that's it. 5 plus 3. But yeah, all right, so we have that. Thank you to...
Sorry, guys, my hoodie was getting a little hot there. It's warming up here in New England, finally. All that being said, Mike, you've never liked Dave Gettleman. You dive into these quotes like they mean something. I get quotes all the time in text messages from my wife. It's not a big deal. So, moving on, you always find a reason to hate Dave Gettleman. Look, you were like, look, we have 8 wins in the last 2 years. Well, is that Dave Gettleman's fault? No. Part of that's Jerry Reese. He was still here. So stop giving Dave Gettleman more wins or losses than what he actually has. Then again, you contradict yourself. Because later in the video, you end up, pumping up Jabril Peppers, but then when Dave Gettleman talks about 3-down safeties, you're like, oh, Landon Collins? Mm-hmm. Jabril Peppers is better than Landon Collins, and the numbers proved that last year. So what are you trying to argue there, Mike? Again, you don't like Dave Gettleman. You're finding any reason to hate the guy. You got to give a guy more than a year. I don't care if he's made a couple bad moves. What, he's made 4 or 5 bad free agent moves? Oh, so we're just going to poo-poo on the guy? Yet his draft was pretty good last year, I would argue. Yeah, he didn't take the quarterback you wanted, or the quarterback period, because he was here to try and turn around the Giants quickly, and that's what ownership wanted. Ownership said it itself. Regardless if you believe it or not, that's what he was brought in to do. That's why a lot of guys didn't get the GM job, because they weren't sitting to say, hey, we'll give you guys 1 year to turn around. If it doesn't happen, we've got to reset this thing, and that's probably exactly what happened. Mike, Rome wasn't built in a day, and you've got to be a more patient Giants fan, or you won't be a Giants fan at all. because rooting for any franchise is a roller coaster. It's up and down. You have good seasons, some bad seasons. The Giants, I believe, are on a path to improving. But if you're not willing to be patient and give guys a little bit more time, then it is what it is. And if we don't draft a quarterback this year, or we don't get Josh Rosen, I'm not going to sit there and get mad over it like you. Because even if we got a better quarterback, or what you perceive to be a better quarterback, it's not like the Giants are turning it around this year either, despite having an easier schedule. So the only thing I'd tell you to Mike is keep an open mind, be a little bit more patient. Things will turn around. Either way, this has been One Giant Rebuttal. Please like and subscribe, and go Big Blue.